Hello, Mr. Graham here from Graham's Boomerangs, and today we're going to show everyone how to make a indoor paper boomerang. So we have a page here with our instructions on it, and this can be printed out. And if you print it out on a standard size 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, your boomerang should be the right size. Now these could be adjusted a little bit. You could make it a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger and it will still work just fine. We have a scale down here drawn out to centimeters so you can see if it's coming out the right size or not. Now the first thing after you print your instructions, you're going to want to cut this pattern out. This is a pattern, so you can cut the pattern out. And boom, here I have one cut out. Now you need to keep in mind this is a right-handed boomerang. If I was going to make a left-handed model, I would say this is the top and I would trace these lines so that they would come out on the back side. So right this way, if I fold these edges down, this will be a right-handed boomerang. Now this is too floppy to make a boomerang out of. Regular paper is too floppy. And in making any boomerang, the stiffness of the material that you make it out of is very important. Because if I try to throw this, the force of throwing it is going to deform it and it's going to just flop. You can get these to float or spin in the air a little bit and drop down, but they're not going to fly and they're not going to come back to you. So we need some stiffer paper. So, yes, Cocoa Puffs. So I'm going to use this Cocoa Puffs box. So a cereal box can work great. So if you have a cereal box or one of the boxes like a t-shirt box, like for Christmas wrapping, those kind of paper can work quite well. So this is a kind of a cardboard paper. Now it's not a corrugated cardboard like a pizza box or a shoe box is made out of. That kind of cardboard might be a little too thick. Now some shoe boxes, yes, they might work. But pizza boxes, probably a little thick for this indoor boomerang. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a place here I want to line it up. And I want Sunny's eyeballs here coming into my thing. So I'm going to line it up on Cuckoo for Cocoa Puff Sunny here. And I'm going to use my a Sharpie. I'm going to trace it. You could use a pencil. And I'm going to trace this pattern onto my cereal box. You can also go ahead and draw these diagonal lines on here. So if I wanted it exactly like this, I could go ahead and fold this over and lay it on here and trace that where I want that dotted line, where I want that to bend at. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. Well, there you can see it's traced on there. It's not perfect, but now I'm going to cut it out. As you're cutting, be sure you don't fold the cardboard or smash the cardboard in any way. I do need to keep in mind which is the top of the boomerang and which is the bottom of the boomerang. So I'm going to have this front of the cereal box will be the front of my boomerang, the top of my boomerang. Okay, so now the boomerang is cut out of a stiffer paper, and now I need to fold down the edge of these just slightly. So I'm going to put it here on my surface, and I'm going to hang that over, and I'm just going to very gently just crease that down a tiny bit. So the back edge of the airfoil now has a tiny bit of a bend down to it. And so I'm going to do all three of the wings, and I've done thousands of these so I know exactly where it needs to go. This could vary. This where this line placement could vary a little bit and it will still work. But you do need to make sure that your boomerang is relatively flat overall. It's relatively flat with just that slight bend down on the back side of each wing. And it should now work if I throw it correctly. So I'm going to hold the boomerang. I'm going to give a thumbs up. I'm going to turn my hand sideways and I'm going to pinch that boomerang right in there, cock it on back like that, and I'm going to throw it up and down like this, and I'm going to release it with just a little motion of the wrist, not much arm motion at all, but just more a little flick of the wrist is all that's needed to bring this around in a circle inside a room. And I'm in my living room, but this can be done in any room of this size or even a little bit smaller. It does not fly very far. So this one should be adjusted right now. And I'm going to flip it out this way and see if we can get a return. Woo! There it goes, right past. So it does work. It goes right around behind where I have the camera set up, and it's making a nice return. Boom! So there it is. So as long as I'm holding this with the art side facing me, and this is the bottom side, because if I throw this upside down, it's not going to work. That would be making the airfoil spin backwards, and it's going to land out there somewhere. This is also for a right-handed thrower. So I'm right-handed, so I'm throwing it like that, and there's a nice little catch. When you do catch these, you want to be careful and not catch it this way, because if I catch it this way, of course I'm smashing it. So I want to try to get a hand underneath and a hand on top and get it in a sandwiched the boomerang between my hands. So like that. So if I have more bend upward on the wings this way or more dihedral, then I will have a little bit shorter flight and it will go a little bit higher. So if I just kind of gently make those wings like that, I'm going to get a little bit shorter flight and a little bit higher, and I got the ceiling. So that was too much dihedral. So keep it a little bit flatter and it'll stay a little bit lower. So I can adjust this to get the kind of flight I want. Sometimes I have to kind of boop, boop, bend on those just a little bit, and be very careful when I'm catching it. And if I keep this relatively flat now and in good shape, I should be able to play with this for a long time until I accidentally probably step on it or smash it or do something where I'm going to tear it up. So it's working really good right now. So I can make more of these. I can experiment with different papers. If I took the front and back of my cereal box and glued them together and made it double thick, what's going to happen? Is it going to work the same? Is it going to go further because it's a little bit heavier? Is it not going to work indoors anymore? You know, you can experiment. These are great for experimentation. I'm trying this with different materials and see what you get. And as long as it's a fairly stiff paper and you've got that little bend down, you might get some boomerangs out of it. So these are a lot of fun to play with, and you can make up some games to play indoors with it. You can color on these, decorate them. You can put a hole in the center. Some people put a small hole in the center, and then they will put something in front of themselves and try to get it to come around and land so that it catches on a pencil or something in front of you. So that's a challenge. That's quite a challenge. Boom. And you'd have to get your throws to coming nice and just the way you want them back to where you could do that. But anyway, as you see, easy to make a little boomerang for inside and a lot of fun.